One of the most interesting things that has happened with IPEN is bringing people together from all over the world who have this view that there is something more to education than simply focusing on the academic. But that varies. So if you look at different countries, in the US there is a focus on performance character strengths like grit and resilience. If you look at Australia, there's a big focus on mental health particularly. If you move into countries like China and Singapore, you see a different perspective altogether, which is informed by Confucian philosophy. So there's a big range of different approaches, but what they all have at their heart, the common core to them, is this idea that there is more to education than simply passing tests.
And that is about not just focusing on what we're not doing right, where the weaknesses are, and fixing them, but actually taking a look at what we're doing well and capitalizing on that. And that's really where we can see the science of positive psychology informing education. If we're looking and focusing on strengths and strengths approaches, then we're actually finding that people are happier doing that because they feel empowered, they feel autonomous, and that's really the point.
Positive education, I think it can take different forms, and each school, each system is different. And so there's some core elements that I think can really transcend across them, but I think part of it has to be specific to the context. I think one thing that's really key of what we're seeing in positive education is the need to really look at the entire school or the entire system in some of these larger schools. Is often we focus on student well-being, and it's all about the students. And I think when positive education is applied in that way, it's going to be problematic. It's the staff, it's the teachers. Teachers are often the ones that are actually teaching things, and if they're burned out, if they're exhausted, then things are not going to actually last.
Positive education has many faces, and I think it looks like trying to combine in schools particularly the skills of well-being and practicing them on a regular basis, and also combining that with the academic performance.
So positive education looks like really a perspective on the whole child, or the whole faculty and staff and the whole school. It's not just about the academics, it's not just about understanding how kids can do better, but also with regards to just being able to reduce their stress and improve their well-being and resilience, and understanding that they bring their whole selves to school. And I think it's that difference of perspective, whereas before we're always just thinking about teaching math and science, and now we're really thinking about how can we equip kids with the skills and knowledge that they need to create a good life for themselves.
The unfair criticisms of positive psychology, positive education, is that you're trying to make kids happy all the time, or you're trying to make people happy. I think that is an absolute nonsense, and I think one of the wonderful things about positive psychology and positive education is that it's trying to teach people to have an understanding of and a control of their full emotional range. A lot of this stuff is to do with self-regulation. It's not to say that a positive emotion is always good and a negative emotion is always bad. They're simply emotions. But what you can have is you can be over-optimistic. I'm going to pass this exam, I don't need to study for it, and that's really a negative form of optimism. Or you can be terribly pessimistic, I'm never going to pass this exam, I'm no good, etc., etc. You're trying to regulate a person's emotions.